What's up, everybody? Welcome. It's the weekend, which means it's Saturday, the 13th of September. That's right. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and this is The Right Mindset. Every Saturday, Sunday, we do it live at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, every Saturday is educational on craft and some business. And then, of course, every Sunday is the Right With Me series concept to conception. Today we will be working on rewriting the greats. This series is basically dedicated to author voice and how to basically understand what author voice is, how to show your author voice. And we do this by taking a published piece of work, usually the first page of a chapter, of the first chapter, and then we just sort of read it, and then we sort of do what we got to do to make it its own thing. And we do it in my voice, but I will show you some behind what is voice, what is author voice. But before we get started, we always like to wait for a few people to join and jump in, because that's what we do here. Hey-o, hey-o, hey-o. All right. Before we do that, for anyone who's listening, watching, and enjoying, hey, tell me what's going on with you today. Have you been working on any books? If not, that's okay. Maybe you're just reading, that's the whole thing. But the point is to have fun. And we're just, if you're just jumping in right now, we're just waiting for some people to come in before we start up. Get the audience cooking, etc., etc., etc. Let me just do one of these. Hello, welcome. Yes, thanks for voting on the poll. That's right. Hello, flowers. Welcome to the show. That's right, everybody. We're just doing a quick waity-daty-daty. Angel Faye, how's it going? We are cooking. What are you cooking? What kind of food are you making, and why do I not have any? Just saying. All right. Let's just pop this right in the writers group, and then we'll get started. So, boop, 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 boop. I'm just doing a little shary-dary-wary. If you haven't done so already, please share the video. Let's get some people in here to talk about rewriting the greats, author's voice. That's because today, like I said, today's lesson is how your author voice changes everything. Lord Soth rewrite. We're going to do it live and in real time, because that's what we do. If you don't know what Lord Soth is, it's a book written by author Edo van Belkom. This book is from the Dragonlance series, known as, I think it's Warriors. Yeah, the Warriors. It's just an anthology of books and stories. I love this book. This is in the grouping of some of the first books that I ever read. Lord Soth is basically a villain, but who doesn't like reading about villains? I don't know about you, but I do. It's not a food, but bones pain, as my computer chair has broken and I fell. Oh my god, ouch. My poor baby girl got scared, but she's good, so am I. All right, well, I'm glad. No falling, no falling. You gotta stand up for your rights. Also, if you haven't seen already, what's your favorite genre to write? Let me know in the poll. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. If you don't know who Edward van Belkom is, he is the author of Lord Soth, but that's really it. I don't think I haven't really heard of him after that. But anyway, okay. So let's do it. Beep, 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 beep. If you don't know, what I basically do is, what do we got? We got, it's hard to decide. Tell me about it. My printer broke a few days ago, and yesterday my TV decided to join it. New TV arrived today, and it's a dead posh. I know what posh is, but I don't know what the term dead posh means. I'm assuming it's like perfect. It's like, woo, this is great. Sorry about the printer breaking. I'm assuming you print out your pages to do a little read through and edit. I know that I used to be like that as well. Very. Oh, see, I get it. Ooh, I understand. I listen. I pay attention. All right, for anyone who's joining us, we are doing Rewrites the Greats. What we're going to do is we're going to read through the original piece on the left, which is all this, okay? And it's not that long. I'm not going to rewrite this whole thing, but we are going to look at it. We're going to take some notes. I'm going to try to figure out what is being said. So the goal is to rewrite this scene or this moment in my voice. And to do that, I'm going to basically be explaining how you have an author's voice and what it looks like to have an author's voice. But at the same time, we're going to try to maintain the same narrative beats and purpose and through line while we rewrite the greats themselves. So I'm not going to just copy and paste. I'm going to put it in my voice. And there's a couple things we're going to go over, especially as I read. No, I was printing a return label. Oh, return to sender. Address unknown. Okay, let's get into it. All right. If you don't know, I am crazy and I sing a lot. Also, I want to take note of some things before we get into it because, you know, in the writing world, we always hear rules and like, hey, this is how you do X, Y, Z and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to show you that even published books break the rules, as they say. But, you know, remember, you can break the rules all you want. You just need purpose in those rules. You know what I'm saying? Right off the bat, I'm telling you, there's a lot going on where I personally would be like, hey, what is this? But if you haven't noticed, what I'm doing is I'm color coding the full sentences of the piece. So while I'm reading, we know what we're reading, but also so you can look at how even a published piece, you know, sometimes you got to use short, choppy sentences. But the reality is it's not necessarily about short, choppy sentences. It's about doing what you need it to do. All right? Okay. All right, let's get into it. So before I read the first one, 2 sentences take up this first passage. Look at it. Rather than been painstakingly built. Huh. Anyway. All right, so right off the bat, it's 2 long sentences, but you know, usually they say, oh, you gotta vary your sentence lengths. Well, honestly, look, this is 1 short one, and then 2 huge ones again, and then it's 3 huge ones, 4 huge ones. You know, the rules just exist to help guide you, and like, you know, whatever the case is. But again, this book was written. Let me just get a double check. This book was written. Well, it was republished in 2012, I believe. But I think it came out way before then. I have the original. I should go get. Anyway, all right. So, you know, the writing changes over time. So you might look at Lord of the Rings and be like, I want to write my books like Lord of the Rings. But in reality, the writing world changes. But that doesn't mean you can't write how you want. I was just talking to a really good friend, a lovely author in her own right, and we were just discussing this. It's like, you know, there is a difference between, you know, I want to write to get picked up and published. I want to get written. I want to write to get an agent, to get a publisher. Then there's writing to basically, you love writing and you want to get your voice out there and you have these stories that you want to tell, but they don't necessarily fit into a genre. They don't fit into the market. They don't fit whatever the case is. They might have genre conventions like happily ever afters and romances and stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, because the conventions of writing change and there's all these stipulations and people, agents are looking for very specific things, sometimes you write to market. But at the same time, we wouldn't get Lord of the Rings if somebody didn't say, hey, I'm J.R.R. Tolkien and I'm just going to write whatever I want. So when we go through this, remember, this is a little old. You know, it's probably 15, 20 years old. All right. Dargar Keep. Dagard. Keep was an impressive sight even to those who had watched it slowly being constructed and had been familiar with its commanding presence for years. It was a keep unlike any other on the face of Krynn, looking for all the world as if it had grown up out of the ground rather than been painstakingly built stone by stone. It was an appearance that had not happened by chance, with its unique shape, labyrinth hallways, spires, and towers, a deep multi-levels of caverns and dungeons. It had taken over 100 of the best stonecutters, masons, and smiths from the four corners of Kryn, more than 5 years to complete. But all who set their eyes upon it agreed that the years of hard labor had been more than worth it. For now that it was finished, it stood triumphantly at the northern end of the Dargard Mountains as one of the true architectural wonders of Salamia. I call it Salami. Perhaps even of all Kryn. Hey, what's up, JK? The keep had been designed by Knight Soth himself, who'd wanted to create a fitting tribute not only to those Salamic knights who had so bravely fallen in battle over the ages, but to his numerous uncles and cousins, all of them knights who had died when the Great Plague swept across Salamia in the latter years of the Age of Might. Therefore, the keep had been constructed in the shape of a rose, its towers, battlements, and ramparts curling out from its center like the petals of a flower under the warm light of the mid-morning sun. Closer to the ground, a long column twisted up from the earth with portholes and windows dotting the structure at various points, their intricate and decorative brickwork giving the column the appearance of having thorns. Protecting the keep was a high and thick stone wall, which, ringing the structure with a solid line of defense against even the most persistent attacker, at the same time created a spacious courtyard on the grounds for the training of knights and for the conducting of ceremonies and other festivals. All right, let's talk about this. Oh, what do you got? Working on chapter 14 of where there's drama. That's awesome, JK. Thank you for the update, and you know that we support the adventure. All right, so first and foremost, I like this book. I enjoyed reading this book, but as a writer, somebody with my voice, which is I like cinematic, I like movement, I like going through POVs, I like emotional truths. This is what I would call exposition. So nowadays, one of the biggest rules that you hear in the writing community, probably from publishers too, as if you do some research, look at interviews, they say don't do exposition dumps. And the reason is because our brains as writers say the more the reader knows, the more they'll be invested in the story, the more they'll be invested in the characters, etc. They don't know this world, so you need them to know the world. But in reality, all this information could be spread out through the entire book. You know what I'm saying? Like, first and foremost, I would show the castle through the characters moving around it. I'll probably do that as the example. I would have maybe Lord Soth standing over on top looking down at the courtyard. I would have whatever, maybe they're walking through it, right? But the way I like to approach it is not only am I framing camera shots because I like the cinematic feel because I have a screenwriting background, but I also like it to move through what is happening narratively for plot, character arcs, and just the POV in general. This, can you hear that? Can you hear the sirens? To me, exposition isn't bad, all right? I'm not saying don't do exposition. You need exposition for context. But what I'm saying is ultimately, nothing is happening yet. So we just read, I just read, I can feel it in my throat, 351 words, okay, which is about a page. And nothing happened, right? We just know that Dargard. Never really learned how to say that. Let's see how that's said. Dargard. Yeah, Dargard. All right, what we got here? Oh, I'm working on my urban fantasy. Yeah, Mystic Rest. I love it. Great name too, Angel. Hey, ciao, ciao. Hi, hello. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Salve. Emma, we were just talking about you and your amazingness. Hey, flowers. What's up? All right. So, Flutterfingers, they're taking off. Flutterfingers are getting away from me. Real quick, if you're just joining us, remember, there is a poll. What's your favorite genre to write? Please let us know in the comments below. We have fantasy, sci-fi, mystery, crime, thriller, all one. And then, of course, romance. All right. Okay, so, again, when we're rewriting these, we need to know what the plot is, like what is happening. And right now, nothing is technically happening. This is literally just exposition. This is gobbledygook, all right, as I might say. This is fluff. So nowadays, this would be flagged. You know, an agent, a publisher, an editor might say, "Hey, maybe we could start somewhere. Maybe we could be doing something." And nothing is really happening. Again, I'm not destroying the book that was written. I'm not critiquing the author. Remember, this is older. This is 10, 15, even 20 years old, depending on the reprint, because I know they updated it and stuff like that with a couple of things. I have one of the originals. But at the same time, you know, how your voice today is going to be different than the voice like we did with Lord of the Rings. Like, you know, that was exposition heavy too, and then we had to turn it into a scene. Anyway, I'm not too keen on these huge. That's too many words for exposition. Without anything happening. So, but we learned some things. We learned the shape and design of the keep, a Dargard keep, and we learned that it's at the foot of the mountain of. By the way, the mountain's name is Dargar. Right? Where is it? It doesn't matter. We know that Soth is a knight. We know that his family comes from knights. Again, all this, in my mind, the way I would approach it is I would seed this information throughout the novel. You know, if you've never read this book, which I'm assuming most of you probably haven't, though it's a fun book. The prologue has Lord Soth in it, has knights in it, and has his father in it. So we already know this a little bit. But if you skip the prologue, oh, here it is, Dardagar Mountains. Nothing is really happening, but we could learn this through behavior, and that's something I like to teach on this channel. Is when you're writing, and again, remember, there's millions of different ways you could write. So I'm not saying you must write this way, but I'm giving you some insight into options. But the truth is, when you're writing, if you are writing through the movement of characters, things are now happening on the page and you're earning the reveals of exposition. So a lot of times, if you've watched my channel a lot and watched my videos, you hear me say the statement, something is happening, but nothing is happening. And that just means that, like, yeah, something is happening. We are learning about the keep. We're learning a little bit of history. Yeah, but nothing is happening. And the way you make things happen is characters are on the page. They're making choices. We're moving through the emotional internal truths of those characters, and of course the narrative of either the character arc or the plot itself, the main central conflict, is moving forward. In this situation, it isn't. So let's figure out how we're gonna do this. Well, I already know I want to start off in. And again, I read the book, so I know a little bit more about who Lord Soth is. I know his personality. I've read like several books on. I'm a Lord Soth fan. Even though he went from Kryn, Dragonlance, to Ravenloft in the latter years. All right. Approached the high wall. Dargar keep, leaning his hands on the edge. Approaching. Let's see. Approaching the. What do you call him again? What is the half wall, the castle, looking over the courtyard called? I like to get these as accurate as I can. Oh, they're all just called half walls. This is what happens when you're a writer. You just fucking are approaching the puppets. Okay. Okay, Lord Soth approached the puppets. All right, sorry, my brain is trying to do writer stuff right now. Lord Soth, okay. Loomed over the prophet. There we go. He leaned his hands on its edge, nodding to fellow knights. All right, so right off the bat, the first thing I'm doing is I'm trying to set the tone. I'm trying to give the chapter or scene a POV. Now, I will say this. The original is definitely written in third-person omniscient, but we all know that I like to write in third-person limited rotation, meaning I'm moving a camera around in scenes and trying to create shots. So his thick armor clanked. Oh, clang. Oh, no, I said clung. No, that was right. Clung to his body, clicking. All right, in every step. All right, so I'm trying to create atmosphere, sound, immersion. I know this is a first draft, but when I do these, I like to try to write and clean. But if it was like a first draft, I wouldn't be thinking about this stuff. I'd just be like, Lord Soth walked to the thing, and he looked over the thing, and there was knights. Like I would be very. If you watch Sunday live videos, you know that I like broad general, and then I build and clean up from there. But anyway, his thick armor clung to his body, clinking in every step. Lord Soth loomed over the courtyard high above from the parapets of Dargard Keep. All right, he rested. I like that. He rested his hands on its edge. Leaning his weight forward and nodding to fellow knights. Oh, yes. All right. He rested his hands on its edge. Maybe. And leaned. This made me look prettier. And leaned his weight forward. The Lord. All right. I'm doing this on purpose to show you something. The Lord nodded to his fellow knights. All right. So, when you're writing in third person limited, there's a couple things you need to know. The narrative has to come from their perspective or the way they're experiencing it. He is the Lord of the keep. So you have to say to yourself, since it's third person limited or first person, by the way, same thing. The way the prose should come out is through their literal perspective, the way they're experiencing things. So would he call himself the Lord, as in like he is referring to himself in third person? Now, if this was from the POV of, say, a secondary knight, there's another knight he has, a close friend. If he was experiencing it from the courtyard, if this paragraph, this prose started in the courtyard, and his knight is basically his best friend, is down there helping the knights train and get into position. And then he looked up and he saw Lord Soth loom over the courtyard high above the palace. Then the Lord nodded to his fellow knights would be okay. So in this situation, what we can do is Soth nodded. Soth nodded. I think his first name's Lorne, if I remember right. Does anyone else know? All right. I think it's Lorne, yeah. Yes, I was right. So, again, though, like Lorne Soth, right? Lorne nodded. That is fine because it is third person. Because it is his proper name. So we learned a few things in this passage. We got some exposition through the character. So his thick armor clung to his body, clicking. It should be clinking. Clinking. Yeah, spelled that stupid. Clinking in every step. Lord Soth loomed over the courtyard high above from the parapets of the Dargar Keep. He rested his hands on its edge and leaned his weight forward. Lorne nodded to his fellow knights. So what we're learning is, what is the location? Dargar Keep. Who is this that we're following? Lord Soth. Clearly, he's at least minimum a lord. And fellow knights means he is also a knight. So without saying that, if we went back here, all right, knight, designed by Knight Soth himself, who wanted to create. So without getting into Islamic knights and all that stuff, we are showing the world unfold through Soth's movement. Therefore, something is happening. And we know that he's watching the group. So the first thing I wanted to do was anchor the opening in who we are following, where we are, and what's going on. So right now we are leading the camera. The camera is up at him. Now he's looking down at fellow knights. So we're going to move the shot down to the fellow knights. And what are they doing? Remember, logical narrative movement takes the previous movement and expands, explores, or qualifies it. So in this case, we're going to expand on what fellow knights are. And by the way, you could do it with sentences too. His thick armor clung to his body, and then we qualify it with clinking in every step. So that comma creates a new qualification. Now we're going to move who is whose body, right? So we're adding on to whose body? Lord Soth. And what is he doing? He loomed over the courtyard high above from the parapets of Dargar's Keep. Okay, and then we are taking the parapets of Dargar Keep, and we will add to it, right? He rested, okay, his hands on its edge and leaned his weight forward. Okay, why did he lean his weight forward? Well, so he could nod to his fellow knights. So you could create logical narrative movement that way. When you're writing your prose, just write your prose, and then you could go back when you're editing and studying and looking at them. You just do that. You just say, all right, what is it about this sentence that I'm adding? Or if you have commas, if you're breaking up, the frag. Because sometimes you could they're fragmented sentences if it's just like thick armor clung to his body. But whose? All right, let's get into grammar. But when you're looking at your sentences, break them up. If there's commas and stuff like that, and you're qualifying something or extending, like, adding adjectives and adverbs, all you got to do is look at the sentence and figure out what element of that is being expanded on, qualified, or you're playing it and stuff like that. Okay, that's just something to think about. All right. So, it was kept unlike any other phase looking for. Okay. I like the unique shape, labyrinth always. We don't need to know about that. I would explore that later. Because this is the thing. Also, when you're writing, think scenery, right? So, one of the things so when I'm working with a client, something that I do try to pay attention to, especially if it's an epic fantasy, but in general, any genre, when it comes to scenery, why? Why that scene? Why that environment? Why are we in this room and not that room? Why did we change the location? What does the location itself do for the narrative, and how does it add to that narrative, right? So just going from like let's say you're in a castle and you're like sitting in the throne room, and then the next scene is them in the master bedroom, and then the next scene is like them in the courtyard, but it's just for conversation and the room itself is not doing something. So right off the bat, if you're writing fantasy, a throne room adds power. But what is the power dynamic? Is anyone sitting in the throne? Is no one sitting in the throne? Who's sitting in the throne, right? Who is standing in front of the throne talking to who is in the throne, right? All that adds to theme of weight, because remember, the throne has power. The throne room has power. Is the throne room filled? Is it just 2 people? Is it 3 people, right? All of that should be influencing why you chose the throne room. If you're writing a romance, okay, why are they at a cafe? Is it just they're at a cafe, or is there something important about that cafe? Does that cafe pay off narratively? Not that everything needs to be like this ultra extreme, connection, like, oh, everything connected. But you want environments to feel real and alive. And if it's just like, um, if it's just a scene to change, to be like, well, they've been hanging out at the house too long, so let's throw them in a cafe. You might want to put a little bit more thought into it, because, like, why that cafe? Is it their favorite cafe? Is it the cafe they met at? Is it a new cafe they're trying? Well, that creates character, right? They're trying a new cafe. Does that mean they try new places? Oh, is this something that they do together? It's adding to the narrative of that romance and their potential relationship. So again, environment is important, and I bring that up because if I'm going to have the characters moving around to see the unique shape and the labyrinth hallways and the spires, as a writer, I could fall into the writer hole of, I want readers to know what the castle looks like, and I want to explore the castle details. So I'm just gonna put my characters in the labyrinth hallways. All right, but again, why? Is it just so the reader knows the hallways are labyrinth-like? There are spires and there are towers, and look, there are deep levels. And by the way, they have caverns and dungeons. In Game of Thrones, I think it's chapter 6 or 7. It's when the king arrives, and then they go down into the crypt where all the Starks are. Spoiler. All right. This scene has a lot of layers to it. Whether George R.R. Martin intended it or not, I'm assuming there was at least some thought into it. But first, Robert is having trouble going down the stairs because he is out of shape. This guy was the warrior of warriors in his prime. He was the person you feared. But now he is not in good shape, and he's walking down into the crypt, all right, where you lay the dead. Eddard Stark is fine. There's some back and forth conversation. The king is talking about Baratheon, Robert Baratheon. He's talking about the travel to the Warden of the North. I'm sorry, I don't have anything to drink. My throat's a little dry. But anyway, this is leading down to the crypt, and what comes up? Robert Baratheon's going into the crypt to see Eddard Stark's sister who died, presumably at the hands of the Targaryens, which, by the way, if you don't know the story, without giving anything away, the war that took place before the book started that led to Robert Baratheon becoming king was started because Robert Baratheon was trying to save the sister. So the crypt is actually adding value to the narrative because we are not only paying our respects to the fallen, the dead, but the king is not in good shape. They're getting older, okay? And they're by themselves. So it's not that they're in a crypt. It's that the crypt is directly connected to the narrative, all right? That's all I'm trying to say. I don't... It's probably scared some people off from that. Anyway, so with that said, like, I'm not going to just be like, hey, the castle is whatever. If they were walking to the dungeons, I would have purpose to that. But these are things I would think about when I'm writing my own book or if I'm working on a client's book. You got to look at what is happening, what needs to happen, and what exposition there is, and say to yourself, how do I relate this to the characters and add value to all that. All right. With that said, let's keep going. All right. What's his name? Yeah, that's a Caradoc. Around the lead. Let's just do Caradoc. I hate when it does that when I'm trying to make it look pretty. All right, Islamic Knights formed in lines in front of Caradoc. I should say Sir Caradoc. Sir Caradoc. Ordering them into movements, fighting, sword movements, into, just do movements. Okay. All right. Forms, taking action with them. Several commands without pause. All right. So basically, what are you doing, Thomas? All right. So now we went from Lorne. We could even do this. Lord Soth. Lorne. I think Lorne is just fine. Lorne. Maybe Soth, just because we have to connect it. We will connect it, but. Soth nodded to his fellow knights. All right, I should say this, fellow knight, knights. Okay, so we're gonna add to Islamic. They are Islamic knights, formed lines in front of Sir Caradoc, who ordered them into movements. He called out forms, taking action with them. Called out forms, taking actions with them, and huffing out several commands without pause. So we're just building on Soth nodded to his fellow knights. We went from the parapet, and then we are now in the courtyard, okay? So we could even build on that. So the courtyard over the courtyard, so we know they're in the courtyard. So maybe there's a moment later in this where talks about how it creates space and movement. Yeah, spacious. Okay. All right, so it's talking about closing a long column twisted up from the earth. Okay. So let's do this. I'm gonna put this here so I don't have to keep going down. All right. Okay. Oh wait. And then this I want the spacious. I want this. I want this. All right. Where's the high walls? Okay. The high, thick stone walls rang around massive keep. All right. Lining it. A solid defense. All right. Ooh. High, thick stone. Isn't stone walls? Walls rang around the massive keep, lining the solid defense of stone and brick. All right, yeah, because it's brick. Okay. All right. The construction shaped roses. Connected towers and battlements. Created spacious courtyard on the grounds. Okay, so let me explain what's going on now. The way I'm approaching this, and I'm going to do it in a second. Okay. I'm trying to say that Lord Soth is standing up on the parapets, okay? And then he is watching the knights, okay? And then while he's watching the knights do their thing, he's taking note of... So this is from his POV. So anything that's being described is him making note of it. So there's a couple things I could adjust here to make it less explained and more what is he noticing, right? Hey, two. Lining. Lining. Stone and brick. Lining the area. Solid stone and brick. The construction. We could say the rose shaped. Stood out. Construction. There we go. Because now it's like he's taking notice of it. You know, like it's what is standing out to him. So the rose design stood out in its construction, connected by towers and battlements. All right. I could do this. I gave the knights space. Space. Reach their full range. All right, so. All right. Actually, what I should do is this is going to be a long sentence, but who cares? Giving the knights the space to reach their full range. All right, so basically what's happening is I'm putting it in the perspective that Lord Soth is paying attention not only because he's looking down, he's seeing the design of the rose and the space, but that the knights who are performing, drills, he's paying attention to that without me saying that Lord Soth watched them do the drills. So I'm giving it movement. I'm describing the keep a little bit more. I'm adding a little bit more of what's going on. Instead of me just stopping the narrative and going, hey, by the way, here's 351 words of description. So right now, right off the bat, we have movement. His thick armor clung to his body, clinking in every step. Lord Soth loomed over the courtyard high above from the parapets of Dargar Keep. He rested his hands on its edge and leaned his weight forward. Soth nodded to his fellow knights. Islamic knights form lines. I could even say the Islamic knights below formed lines and in front of Sir Caradoc. We could just do this. He ordered. I could take this out. We don't need to say this because this is repetitive. See what we're learning? Repetitive. All right. He called out forms, taking action alongside them. I should say. With them and huffing out several commands with outputs. Okay, yeah, that's a little smoother. So, all right. His thick armor clung to his body, clinking in every step. Lord Soth loomed over the courtyard, high above from the parapets of Dargar Keep. He rested his hands on its edge and leaned his weight forward. Soth nodded to his fellow knights. The Salamic knights below formed lines in front of Sir Caradoc. He called out forms, taking action in rhythm with them. I spelled that wrong. And huffing out several commands without pause. High, thick walls rang around the massive keep, lining the area with solid stone and brick. The rose design stood out in its construction, connected by towers and battlements, giving the knights the space to reach their full range. Hey, what's up, Afghani? Hello, not familiar with this book. If you like old 80s, 90s, and early 2000 high fantasy, this would be, it's not epic fantasy, high fantasy. This book might be something you could read. It's just called Lord Soth, and it is written by Edo van Belkom. What's up, baby? Come here. Where are you? Come on. It's a fun read. I like the series of Lord Soth books. You know, there's the Black Knight. There's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch of what are all the Lord Soth books? He's also a part of the Dragonlance Autumn of all the Springs of Autumn and stuff like that. He's in the War of the Twins. He's in Dragon of Summer and Flame. The War of the Lance. He's in Dragons of Dwarven Depths. He's in Dragonlance Chronicles. So there's a lot of books that came out with him that are a lot of fun. Knight of the Black Rose. That's another book I own. That was in 1991. That's a lot of fun. Spectre of the Black Rose, 1999, is the sequel to that book. The book I'm doing right now is from 1992. And it's a standalone novel in the, basically, it's a good book. It's a fun book. What do we got here? What's the difference between epic and high fantasy? I know of Dragonlance. Yeah, Dragonlance is fun. The big difference is probably the scale. So I'm not inaccurate. What's the difference between high and epic fantasy? I know you could have just looked this up, but I like talking about and expanding on it. So, but ultimately, high fantasy is focused on more of the magic and the world building and like distinct rules and stuff like that. Whereas epic is scale. It's large conflicts, world-changing events. You know, everything is a wider cast. So Lord of the Rings is epic because there are multiple characters, and we also break up the narrative and we follow people. Game of Thrones is epic, things like that. But something like this is high fantasy because it really just focuses on the knights. There's a cataclysm in the works, and then even the Dragon of Autumn Twilight, like the Dragonlance saga, whatever. That's sort of high fantasy only because it stays focused on the group, a small group, and doesn't necessarily expand way outside of that, you know. Hi, Afghani. What's up, Emma? But the real big difference is high fantasy usually focuses on the rules, the magic, the mystique, you know, stuff like that. King Arthur and the sword, that would be like high fantasy. But epic fantasy will always be something that goes a little deeper. There's probably a political thing going on. There's we're able to jump around. There's more than one POV, stuff like that. I guess my book would be high fantasy then. Yeah, I mean, if it's very focused and centered on a single character or even two characters, you're still probably in the high fantasy realm. If it's not really about the greater scale of things and or a massive event to come, could come, or has come, you're probably still in high fantasy. I know that my fantasy series is definitely epic, though it does start off intimate with two protagonists. So we have Devious and Aaliyah, which are Devious is the main protagonist and Aaliyah is the secondary protagonist. Chew, you could come up here, baby. Come on. Come on. Come on. Coming? Well, come in. No. You don't want. All right, we're gonna get some cat, everybody. We're getting some cat. Meow, 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 meow. Hey, baby. Yeah. So, but it is called the Maven Wars for a reason, and it takes place over several continents. That's another aspect of epic fantasy is it doesn't really just take place in one little area. You know, it expands and stuff like that. A massive event could come, but it would be a spoiler if the reader knew before he got to. Yeah, but if the massive event is the center of the book, as in like, you know, that's what it is about narratively, and it's being explored from multiple angles, not just like the heroes, like the hero knows bad guy exists, hero must stop bad guy. That might not necessarily be epic fantasy. The event would affect scale. You know, for example, in Game of Thrones, you have the Warden of the North, but then you have other kings, not kings, but lords. You know, you have different castles. You have different families. You have the Seven Kingdoms. Meow. Hey, too. So, you know, you have to think of like that. But again, it doesn't really matter. But if you are going to describe your book as epic or high fantasy, it is good to know if it is actually those things. Two, what are you doing? What are you doing, baby? What? You just want my attention? We were just laying down, and now I'm trying to work, and you're like, no, Dad, we must spend more time together, or you hate me. No, I love you. Just because I do other things doesn't mean I don't love you. All right. Sorry, I had to have a conversation with my child. All right. Anyway, where are we? We're almost at the end. Let's see if I could do something else. Let's see if I could add something to this. I know. All right. Okay. See, again, it's like 351 words, and it's just descriptions. High stone wall. All right. My lord. I forget what his name is, but. She does have pretty eyes, right? She's a cute little. Hey, two. Now get down. I'm trying to look for. There's a character I'm trying to remember, but he's like a minor character. Whatever. I can't remember there. My lord. His servant said. Approaching. From the left. Oh, no, the right. Let's go right. My lord, his servant said. "'Tis a kind weather today." Okay. We don't need that other part. My lord. His servant said. Actually, I think his servant. Yeah, because remember it's in the POV of Soth, right? His servant said, "'Tis truly a kind weather from the gods of Kryn. Hey. Today is. Let's do this. Today is kind weather. It's truly a gift from the gods. Okay. Now, weather. Today is kind weather. It's truly a gift from the gods. All right. Then I could do the Lorne, right? Lorne. Whoop. I spelled it wrong. I think it's spelled Lorne. Whoop. Yeah, I was right. Lorne. Maybe. Sir Lorne. Okay, I'm just adding some dialogue to sort of give some character and personality. What is going on? How come you can't see? All right. So we have the servant break up the thing. He sort of comes in and says, "My lord," his servant said, "today's kind weather is truly a gift from the gods." Sir Lord Soth kept his eyes on his knights. What is this? Servant. I should do this so we just know that he's entering. You know, servant approached from the right. And we could just say approached. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because, remember, context is king. So in this situation, the context is that the servant wasn't always there. But also I'm using it to redirect the camera in a way where the servant is approaching. So it's sort of, my lord, you know, and the camera is now on the servant. Or, you know, in this case, my lord, today's kind word is truly a gift from the gods. And now the camera's back on a mid. So Sir Lord Soth kept his eyes on his knights as his servant approached. So it's probably just him staring off, right? And then Kryn has many gifts, but the cold weather isn't one of them. And that's because this time of the year it's very cold there. And then, yes, but a crispness awakens even the most tired of us. So I'm just sort of like giving them a rapport. We're giving a little bit more movement. We're getting a position on Lord Soth, which, if you've ever read the books, this is very Lord Soth. He's not a man of words. He's a man of action. Anyway, I remember getting one of the Dragonlance books from the library when I was a kid. I don't think it was the first book. Yeah, there's a bunch of books, but I do recommend reading those books if you do with an open mind of the difference in time. You know, I read them sometimes, or I'll listen to the audiobooks just because I like, you know, you have those childhood connections to them. I was a child when I read them. But you read them now, or you listen to them now, and you're just like, wow. Yes, exactly. It's very compared to today's standards, it's generic fantasy. I don't even think you have to think about that. That is accurate. But at the same time, you do have to remember, in the 90s. It was exciting, you know, like it was something new and different. But now, because of the evolution of writing, just like, you know, there are some books that are huge now that weren't necessarily big when they came out, and vice versa, where books were huge back then. But you know, people are like, it's a lot of reading. I don't think it's worth it. But whatever. Anyway, all right. So we did an hour, and there you go. Let's read the rewrites. His thick armor clung to his body, clinking in every step. Lord Soth loomed over the courtyard high above from the parapets of Dargar Keep. He rested his hands on its edge and leaned his weight forward. Soth nodded to his fellow knights. The Salamic knights below formed lines in front of Sir Caradoc. He called out forms, taking action and rhythm with them, and huffing out several commands without pause. High, thick walls rang around the massive keep, lining the area with solid stone and brick. The rose design stood out in its construction, connected by towers and battlements, giving the knights the space to reach their full range. "My lord," sir, his servant said, "today's kind weather is truly a gift from the gods." Sir Lord Soth kept his eyes on his knights as his servant approached. "Kryn has many gifts. but the cold weather isn't one of them. Ah, yes, but a Christmas awakens even the most tired of us. All right, anyway. That guy dies. All right, anyway. There you go. Any questions, feel free to ask me about this, what I did, why I did what I did. What are your thoughts? I would love to hear your thoughts on the rewrite compared to the exposition heavy of the original. Obviously, feedback is always helpful. Not only does it help me in learning what I should be teaching you in this, but also what you are learning from it, and also what your thoughts are in general. With that said, let's get to it. All right, if you haven't done so already, the poll is in the comments. What's your favorite genre to write? We have fantasy, sci-fi, romance, and then combined all together is mystery, crime, thriller, because those are pretty much all the same cadoodles. We have 7 votes already, so I'm assuming that everyone thus far has voted, which is nice. Before we get into talking about that, not that there's really much to talk, I just want to talk about genres. I'd like to add that tomorrow is the 36th episode of Write a Book with Me, so please feel free to join with that. If you haven't done so already and you've really been enjoying the series so far, not only just the rewrite of the greats, but also this channel, and you just haven't done it, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out. Obviously, a like does help the algorithm and increases the ever-growing movement and reach of the channel, so that's something. Which means the sword of bloop bloop. So if you haven't already, please bloop the beard and bloop the like button. Those bloops are blooping fun, as the Smurfs would say. I've been selling a lot of these books, and I just want to say, especially to the audience currently out there, if you've purchased the book and I don't know about it, let me know, because I just want to say thank you and continue to keep you in my good wishes. But the book is available at makearightleft.here.com. You can just go there and purchase the book directly. I've blooped it every day this week. Oh, that's because you have the... You get to bloop your coffee every morning. I love it. You got to bloop your coffee, yeah. Fun fact, I don't know if Emma is still in the room, but I was talking to Emma. The other day, I did 4,000 words in one day for this book. And then last night, I did about 3,000 words. And I am continuing to fly through this. I am closer and closer. I have several chapters left. And the 27 plot point outline will be completed, or at least the first draft. And then I'll have to do what we would call rereading it, which is the fun part, taking notes, adjusting, adding, etc., etc. All right. Other than that, if you're interested in reading Death of a King, the Maven Wars Saga, Book 1, you can officially do that. It is available to read on Patreon only. However, I will add that it is actually an educational tier. So you pay for the tier and it gets you, it shows you behind the scenes. It shows you the short form outline, the extended outline of each chapter. And then it shows you the 0 draft of that chapter, the first draft, and the third draft. Not the final draft, but... and then there are notes within the posts that explain each step of that. And then, of course, I give assignments and questions that you can put towards your own work. And I start off with sort of author notes on what I was doing, and then how to, what you should be doing to look at your own work. So it's very informative. It's not just, hey, here are some chapters. But I will tell you, every week, Monday through Friday, is the evolution of one chapter. So, for example, chapter 1 was just released this previous week. So Monday was the short form, Tuesday was the extended outline, Wednesday was the 0 draft, Thursday was the first draft, and Friday was the third draft. And obviously, you could ask questions through the entire series on the posts, and I will happily respond to that. So again, if you're interested, A Death of the King, feel free This is a direct link. Oop, that's not it. Let me get the direct link. This is a direct link. After the show, you could maybe save that as a tab. Check it out. I recommend it if you are interested in learning the process of writing and looking behind the curtain to see how I do it, etc., etc., etc. Other than that, what else we got? That's it, really. I think that's it. Okay, let's do it. What's your favorite genre to write? Okay, we have 7 votes still. It looks like we have a tie between fantasy and romance. Maybe that's why romantasy is getting popular. Sci-fi is Zaro, which makes it interesting that I'm writing a science fiction book on Sundays with Laura Olivia and the love interest. I wonder if my sci-fi is considered sci-fantasy, sci-mance? Sci-mance? Because not only is there a romantic element to it, but there's also, she wants to be, the character in the book wants to be a romance author. So maybe it's sci-mance. I think I'm going to call it sci-mance. Anyway, more or less not great, says otherwise. All right, so let's end that poll. Oh, we got some comments here. I write sci-fi, but it's my second favorite. Oh, interesting. Do you primarily write sci-fi, or are you saying that you will write sci-fi, you have written sci-fi, but it's not the genre you jump to write a book? I'd like you to clarify that, just because it's interesting to talk about. It's hard to decide which genre. Well, that's fair, Angel. It is hard. Yeah, I obviously love fantasy, epic, high, whatever, urban, doesn't matter. I like the mystical, magical elements of things, the impossible becoming possible. My second favorite is mystery, crime, thriller. I just popped that all into one because of basically anything like that. And then, of course, sci-fi is fun in the sense of, like, I like to see how we solve problems with technology in stories and, like, how people look at it. Like, for example, Star Trek, with everything that has to do with the food, the whatever it is, not the regurgitator, but the what is it? Star Trek food maker. What is it called? It's called the replicator. So, like, that's interesting to me. Like, it solved the food issue. It's a replicator, so that's always nice. Oh, Afghani says, I only started writing sci-fi because I started writing short stories. I have a lot of ideas for the sci-fi shorts, not so much with the fantasy. Are you saying, and you don't have to go deeper into this, but you can. I'm always here to listen. Are you saying that when it comes to fantasy, you always have, like, these big stories? You're like, oh, I have complete stories. But with sci-fi, they're just like these ideas and these quick moments. By the way, if you have a bunch of sci-fi shorts, you should definitely release, like, a companion, like a short, a book that is just basically a collection of your shorts. Not your shorts like you wear shorts, but your shorts like, the stories. Anyway. Oh, by the way, I know M is on the M isn't here this week. Oh, that's right. M is on the KK. The KK with family. That's right. But Flowers, you joined the Patreon. Are you enjoying the look-see? And did you get a chance to look at the prologue and all the information that has to go with the prologue? And by the way, I think I sent you a message on that. If you haven't, you can just go to the collections section and look up the Death of the King, the Scribe collection, and it'll show you all the posts in order, so you never have to wait for it to pop up. You could just always go to collections and be like, hey, there it is. But I'd love to get your thoughts on it, and if you're enjoying it, and if you have any questions, I always like talking about stuff. I only started writing sci-fi because, I read that already. Yeah, with sci-fi, it's easy to start and finish in a short time. Well, that's true. That is true. That's true. It's hard to come up with a fantasy idea that you can wrap up within a few thousand words. I mean, like all things. Look, this is what writing is. You go, Person A, B, and maybe C and D all have personalities. They all have wants and desires, right? You go, person A wants to marry person B, and person C is next in line to inherit the family's wealth, and then person D is like the best friend who connects all of them together. Now, is that fantasy? Is that romance? Is that mystery? Is that sci-fi? We don't know, right? Because the characters are where you should start every narrative, and wherever that goes, it goes. And then all you do is sort of like paint over that, whatever it is you want to do, because different genres have different, you need certain things, certain tropes, and certain, like, again, romance is happily ever after, right? But when you get to that, you can start painting the colors. Like maybe one of them is a wizard, one of them is a priest, one of them is a thief, one of them is a fighter. Maybe one of them is a detective. Maybe two of them are detectives. Maybe they both two of them work for a bookstore. One is Wolf Books and one of them is like a local mom and pop shop. And then you get You Got Mail, right? So the idea should always start with the characters, and then as far as like the genre, that's something you can sort of like color in as you go. Just saying, something to think about when you're working on your stuff. I haven't had a chance to look at your comment yet. Number one grandson was over this afternoon, and we unboxed and set up, woo, the new TV. 11-year-old comes. I know you and I are older than not young. And that comment is so accurate to what we as adults in our age bracket must deal with. That 11-year-old can come in and understand electronics and helping, and like I have a nephew who's like 11, and one time I was talking about like the aliens and xenomorphs and stuff, but I wasn't mentioning I was just trying, because in my mind I'm like, how's he gonna know what the hell a xenomorph is? But I'm describing it, and I'm like talking about what they are, and he's like, "Oh, a xenomorph!" I'm like, how can you even pronounce that word? You're 11. Kids, they're much smarter than we think they are sometimes. But again, we were kids once, and we were like, why do these adults treat me like I'm stupid? I know I don't know everything, but it doesn't mean I'm not smart, And then you realize, oh, I am smart. I'm glad you got the TV up. Is the TV up on the wall in the bedroom or the living room? That's the real question. I have a massive TV in the living room, but I had like a smaller TV in the living room, and then I put it in the bedroom, the smaller one. And I was like, I sort of want to break this TV in the bedroom, so I have to put the living room TV in my bedroom and then just buy a bigger TV for the living room. But I keep getting told that it's a waste of money, and I agree with that sentiment. But I hate the TV that is in the bedroom. I just want to put that out there. I give him a chalk protein pudding, and he looked at the label and said, "Ooh, protein is so important, Oh my God, that is adorable. That is absolutely adorable. And it makes you think like, wow, why are we not consulting some of these kids? They absorb. That's the thing, like a young brain, the way the brain works as you get older, it's like, absorbing information isn't necessarily part of the curriculum, if one might say. But as a child, you just absorb everything, You see something, boom. You hear something, boom. You read something, boom, It's pretty amazing. That's why, like, when I talk to people and they're just like, how do you know these random things? And because when I was younger, especially with my dad or like uncle, like my dad's cousin, who we actually just called uncle, because that's just how we were. He helped build and design the computer that was used on the spaceship that landed on the moon. That's right. So Neil Armstrong and them, he was a part of building the computer for them. So that's sort of like kind of like the people that were in my family, but there was also just people that were comedians, like they were just funny. I had musicians that like were in the industry. I had people that worked on television. So as a child, I just absorbed all these different worlds, and I became interested in so many different things just because you hear so many little tidbits of stuff. And as a child, you don't necessarily understand it per se. It's just knowledge, knowledge without research is just information. So as I aged, I would go deep dive into these things and learn more and more and more to understand them. He even has his 6-year-old brother starting sentences with, actually. I don't know them, but I'm already in love with them. They are adorable. Actually. That's really funny. All right. What else? Is that it? I guess we're done. I guess we had fun. Unless we want to talk about, do you want to talk about the genres? You know, it looks like fantasy and romance won, but there's 7 votes, so I'm assuming 2, 4, 5, 6. I'm assuming 3 people voted for fantasy, 3 people voted for romance, 1 person voted for mystery, crime, thriller. So, why fantasy and why romance? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What made you choose what you chose? So what, fantasy, romance, or the mystery, crime, thriller? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. They are hilarious. They sound like they are. Didn't you show me a video of one of them once or something? I forget. I forget. Maybe you posted something on it and I saw it that way. But yes, very hilarious. Very hilarious. But yeah, so in the comments, let's hear it. Let's talk about what is it about fantasy you like, and why is it the genre you like to write, and what is it about romance you like to write, and crime, thriller, etc., etc. I have outlined a crime novel, like a noir. I think I did it live on here a long time ago. But I also have a video. Oh, no, I think I have a video on sagas. Yeah, I have a video on how to like outline sagas, and I used a noir crime. And I was thinking about doing that. Oh, yeah, the Metro thing. Yes, he is obsessed with, yes, the Metro. He is, yeah, no, you could tell he's a bright boy. Actually... Oh, here we go. I like sword and magic since I was a kid. But I do like watching sci-fi more than fantasy, mainly because most fantasy show sucks. I'm not going to say I disagree with that statement, because I agree wholeheartedly. I do like, watching sci-fi does, though fantasy can, back in the day, was definitely good. But sci-fi seems to like have a little bit more fun on television. But sword and magic, I mean, there's just something so fun and pure, and it's just that I don't think that genre will ever die. It'll evolve. Obviously, it'll change and it'll develop into other things and like. But fantasy, sword and magic, just the idea of like warriors and just like the impossible becoming possible. Do you have a video on prologues, epilogues? I know you've explained before, but I need a refresher. I do have videos on prologues and epilogues. I don't think I have videos specifically for prologue, epilogue. I have videos that go over prologue, epilogues. However, in the tier that you pay for the scribe and everything, for the prologue, I do go into prologue stuff, and this book right here has a full chapter dedicated to both prologues and epilogues, and explains and expands and gives a lot of information on their value and power and how to really do it. So I finished that chapter the other day, and I had a lot of fun doing that. So. Hey, what are we gonna hear? They did one good fantasy show, Game of Thrones, up to season 5, and then you already said after season 5 is like, what is going on? Yeah, I agree with that. Patreon. Yeah, there's stuff on Patreon for sure for that. Hi, Thomas, and everyone else. What is up, bro? Ah, right. I will check that out tomorrow. Dude, excellent, excellent. But I will say this: for next year, 2026, there will be video content that will focus. Let me just double check that. I know that I have a list of stuff that I want to go over for next year. Let me just make sure that's here. Main list. It wouldn't be outlining. It wouldn't be character. It wouldn't be rules of writing. Writing advice, business and writing a novel. Actions speak louder than words. Terminology, analysis. I got so many areas. Editing, world building, scene structure, staying proactive, create a language. Wow, I got a lot of playlists. Writing prompts. Okay, writing exercise. You know what I might put it in? It has to be in writing. Rules of writing. That's what I think it might be in. Rules of writing. Right? Ah, yeah, there it is. All right. Prologues and epilogues. Right? Prologues. Yeah, okay. It's rules of writing. Okay, yeah. I got stuff lined up for next year. Oh, a friend asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I asked for an Amazon voucher as there is a book coming out soon that I need. Excellent. So yeah, I am going to buy Thomas's stuff. Yes, everyone, follow the advice and lovely mentorship of the flowers. Buy the Thomas's stuff, which you can find happily on makeitRightLoveToYou.com. That's funny. I appreciate that, Flowers. I appreciate it. I'm super excited about that book. I just want you to know, I had some of my alpha readers. They're like, when are you gonna finish writing? Working out book 3 and 4 for the fantasy, and I was like, I've been obsessing over this outlining book to the point where I'm using my 2-hour writing blocks to just work on this book. Because I'm just so close to the end, and once you get to the end and like the rewriting and the cleanup, all that is a lot faster, in my opinion, right? But like I'm getting so close, and I'm just super excited for it. Buy it, Ro. It's so nice to have Ro here, being my cheerleader. What do I have? I'll tell you right now. Let's see. Oh yeah, Jesus, I forgot to mark these off. Oh yes, look at that. That's crazy. I feel good about that. Let's see. I have 12 chapters remaining. However, I really think I'm going to get rid of. We don't need that. And I think this is going to become one. Anyway, all right, I have about 10 chapters remaining, but they're like really short chapters because they're more like they're the example chapters. Because what I did was I basically explained everything in the first half, and then the second half of the book is me doing a character summary, then an outline, and then a short form, then an extended, and then a zero draft, and that's it. Yes, congratulations, Flowers. Started on PP27 this week. If anyone doesn't know, that is Act 3, Section 9, Plot Point 27 of the resolution. I'm very excited about that. You bet, barely made it on time today. Bro, when you show up, that is on time. So, you're not beholden to at the beginning. You're beholden to your own life, and live it as you need. And I'm just grateful that you showed up. Scream to the top of your lungs, buy it! And then, we realized that we're getting close to the 2 call another day. Scrapped in on your undercrackers, huh? That's funny. All right. Other than that, what else we got? Any good news? Is there any news? Do we have any news? I don't have any updates other than we did the tier, we did the book. Yeah. So technically, I have 3 books out right now. I have the poetry book, I got Breaking Down Success, which I don't have a copy next to me for some reason. And then, of course, I have Death of the King. I was really excited to launch that, by the way. Before I did that tier, I talked to a bunch of my quote unquote pro writers, and they were all like, they were all like, go for it, do it, because they were like, the educational aspect of it is the interesting part. And you know, I love teaching, so like I could ramble on for hours on how to write and like craft and everything like that and help people, and really that's the goal, you know, is how do you help people? Because what is life if we don't help one another? All right. By the way, real quick before we call it a day, what do we got? Where's my thing? Does anyone have any questions about their books? Whatever the case is, you know, if you have questions about your writing, do you need help with anything? You let me know, because I will happily give you some answers, because that's what we do here. We give answers. What's up? So I'll give it a couple minutes for anyone to think about their questions, and if nothing comes up, then we will happily call it a day. I will eat lunch, maybe have a little sippity sip, and then from there. I think the microphones sound good lately. Call it a day. I will eat lunch. Yeah, I'm liking the mic. I'm liking the mic. All right, what else? Anything else? What's going on? All right. Any question? Oh, here we go. I love questions. Who doesn't love questions? All right. The first draft has the bones and some fleshy bits. I am in no way comparing myself to you, but I can see I have bones and flesh too. I can't wait to see it morph into a prettier version itself. Oh yeah. So, especially if you looked at the first draft, I mean the first development of chapter 1 in the tier, the 0 draft is really the bones. The first draft is the flesh. That's where I'm adding the flesh to the bones, but it's not necessarily pretty. And then in the second draft, that's where I'm like doing some of the work, but not necessarily line editing. And then the third draft, which you saw, I think you even made comment. You're like, your first draft, is already working, and that's the thing. Like, your first draft might be working. It might look good. It might flow. But that third draft is where you're taking beta reader notes and your own personal notes, and you're going through it and you're saying, all right, what is working? What's not working? Where do I need to clean things up? And I think that you probably are not going to notice a huge change from first draft to third draft like you did with 0 draft to first draft, or if you looked at 0 draft and then looked at the third draft of my samples. But the one thing you will notice is I'm either adding or taking away from moments, or I'm not line editing yet, but I am cleaning up clarity and trying to kind of hone it into a more organically fluid narrative. That's really what I'm trying to do in that third act, because I'm using beta reader notes. What did they like? What didn't they like? Also, just to anyone who's listening out there, if a beta reader says they like something, it doesn't necessarily mean to lean in it and then change the book into what they like. Because remember, if you get 10 beta readers and 6 of them like something, that doesn't mean out of 100 people, 60% of them are gonna, 60 of them are gonna like that thing. Always stick to your guns. Stick to what you believe you want the story or the narrative to be. But if people are liking something, that is good. That's a good sign that what you're doing is working. Obviously, if it's the majority, that's even better. But at the same time, it's okay to be like, people like this character. So, you know what? Maybe in the next book, I'll give them a little bit more page time, but I won't, because you got to remember, like, there's a character that I really like. That's like one of my favorite characters in my fantasy saga, the whole saga, not just the first book, but the saga itself. Whether they're in the first book or not, I'm not going to say. But I love this character. But I know in my heart, if I move them up just a little bit and gave them more page time, that they will not have the same impact, nor will they be liked as much as they could be. Only because, I don't know about you, I love red velvet cake. But if that's all I had to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe not so. Now, pizza, on the other hand, I could literally eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I like to change it up. I'll do eggs, then I'll do some pizza. Then the next day I'll do eggs, maybe pizza or Chinese, right? The point is, just because your beta readers like something doesn't mean you should make it about that, but it doesn't hurt if you say, all right, I'll give it a little bit more. I'll seed a little bit more. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. However, you should always be sticking to your gut and writing really what it is you're trying to accomplish. Nothing currently comes to mind. No questions for wrong. Oh, sounds like 2 has a question. 2, what's your question? Danny, when are you going to spend more time with me? You only give me 80% of your time. Meow. And I want like all of it. Meow. And you should give it all to me. Meow. Does anyone else have pets? And is that what the conversation sounds like? Honestly. Where's my dinner? She is a grazer, all right? The cat, or I should say the princess, we gave her a grazing diet. So we just leave the bowl full, and she doesn't overeat. She just looks at it. She goes, I'll take. But this is what she does. She'll go like this. She'll take a pour, and she'll go, right? And she'll eat a couple. And then she'll take a pour, and then she'll like 3-legged over to a water bowl, and then throw the food in the water bowl. Then go back to her food, take a little, eat a little, then throw more in the water bowl. We've moved the bowl so far away, and we're like, that's a lot of work. And she does it because she wants us to change the water, because she needs fresh water daily. I mean this, like, and by daily, I mean every couple hours. Or, you know, we're a-holes. My cat is always hungry. Is that because your cat's name is Hungry? Oh, see. What, baby? You did good. You want to go out? I can't reach. You want to leave? Go. You know you're loved. Stop it. You know you're loved. Where's the wet food? She does not like wet food. She's also like 14. So, you know, she's at that age where she's like, listen, I was given hard foods, and I only like to kibble now. I don't know if that's a princess voice, but it definitely, oh, bless her. She's going to hear that and think we care about her. And we do. All right. Dry food always available. Cats won't touch water. Yeah, they're scared of the water. We try bathing her, but she does this weird dance. And we don't like the dance because I don't know what it's called. It's probably the maraca. I'm not sure. But it hurts. Morticia has been on for a fortnight, so the hunger has been insane. First of all, fortnight. I love that you use that. Game of Thrones in the show, they say fortnight like so much that like every time they say it, it's just so funny. So it's funny that you said fortnight. What is that? Let me see. This diet for cats. It says here. What is that? Let's see. It's to involve carefully dietary management to help mitigate side effects like increased appetite, potential weight gain, gastrointestinal upset. A vet-approved high protein, though. Okay. That sounds good. Maybe I should be doing that for myself. Bowel diseases, IBD. Now we're just flirting. Now we're getting naughty now. We're just getting naughty. She over-groomed her back. Oh, yeah, that sucks. So it's like hairless now. She's trying to be like one of the, what are those hairless cats? What are they called? The Sphinx cat, right? They are a hairless cat breed known for its affection, energetic, and social personalities, often described as dog-like. I think it's time I get one. Baldy legs isn't a good look in the cat world with the boys. That's fair. That's fair. Baldy legs. Is that the nickname for the kitty cat? Baldy legs. Meow 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 meow. Baldy legs. I need baldy legs. They're so hairy right now. It's ridiculous. I don't know how it happens. You know, you get a little older, whatever, and you're like, where did this come from? You know. Anyway. All right. I feel good. Okay. All right. We got everything down. We did what we had to do. Oh, fluttery fingers are taking me away. They're taking me away. Calm down. All right, everybody. I had a lot of fun today. So, again, if anyone's watching and you haven't done so, please subscribe, hit the bell icon so you don't miss out, and boop the beard, bloop the like button, because I'm out. I gotta go. I'm gonna eat. It's already 3:30. I'm starving. I mean, my name is Thomas, but I am also starving. And by the way, I just want to say, to all of you, a nice applause. Okay, that's my appreciation for you. And of course, by the way, am I the only one? But when I wake up in the morning and I turn the light on in the bathroom and I see myself in the mirror, I hear this. Have a great evening. Hey, Ro, hey, Emma, and everyone's off to the races. All right. I think we're done. We're gone. I'm out. All right, everybody. As always, I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and keep developing. All right, mindset. I'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, and bye.